Salutare, prieteni! Astăzi vom dezbate o temă de mare actualitate. Va fi o dezbatere în limba engleză pentru că am doi invitați de talie internațională. Este vorba de Don Federico D'Annunzio, care este și Principe di Montenevoso, care a scris o carte foarte interesantă despre etica în inteligența artificială, și Antonio Patanè, fondatorul FSP Global, care este un vechi prieten al Via Cluj TV, și vom încerca să explorăm această temă care practic preocupă decidenții de pe toate meridianele planetei. Thank you for accepting the invitation to be here in Via Cluj TV studio. Your Highness has written the book Habeas Corpus. How did the idea of this book come about?
Because of the fragility of the digital system, which has been deployed in the world in the last 30, 40 years, where data can be changed, can be manipulated. And this is the biggest fragility because it creates a problem of truth, and epistemic problems, which is now affecting the growth of the society and the democracy of the development of democracy into the new world of digital revolution. So you needed to be sure of the data. So first of all, to be putting the right points at the right value. And the basement is the truth of data. And the beginning is this. And then from there, you have to acknowledge that the human being is not anymore a physical body. The human being is made also of its digital interactions. If the digital interactions become irrevocable and immutable, then the digital body becomes, the human body becomes an extended body, a physical and digital body. And this is the new target of the human rights, the extended body of the human being.
More than 20 years ago, His Serene Highness Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein published a very interesting book called The State in the Third Millennium. At that time, Prince of Liechtenstein observed that the impact of the new technologies, at the time was Internet 2.0, are transforming this technology are transforming the human society. But His Serene Highness wrote that this impact will offer more democracy, because His Serene Highness said that the human society is transforming from this kind of democracy, parliamentary democracy, into participative democracy, where the people has the opportunity to intervene, to make petitions, to vote, to ask for a referendum on certain ideas, and this creates a more close relations between the sovereign, no matter it's a prince, a king, or even a president, and the real people. How do you think this process can be affected by artificial intelligence?
It's the creation of new actors, which we could call them alias, which is the alias created by artificial intelligence. So this democracy is not anymore in the human hands, but also has to take in consideration the alias. So we cannot stop the wind with the hands. We have to know and admit that artificial intelligence is going to create entities which need to have rights and also need to have responsibilities. So part of the new democracy infrastructure is going to be acknowledgement of the human being, which is also digital, and the digital intelligence, which is creating new alias, which are participating to the democratic process. So yes, true, but not the same as, let's say, even 5 years ago. It's a new democracy which will be born on basis which are the ones that we as European Digital Humanism, we are creating, how can I say, not imposing, but imagining new governance of rights and new rule of law for the human beings and the artificial intelligence cooperating towards the democracy, if we want to call it.
Thank you. Mr. Patanè, you are familiar with the content of this book. What do you think about these ideas expressed in this book?
By the way, he is the president of European Digital Humanism in Romania.
I think is very important for reflection on AI and how AI interact now in our life. I think is important also to build up a framework, also a legal framework. So I'm proud to collaborate with Don Federico on European Digital Humanism, that is a new manifesto, and we are planning to expand the platform, the manifesto, in various countries, and being promoters of a new legal framework to make sure that the digital humanism is really inspired by the principle on which we believe since a long time in Europe. This is why we call this European Digital Humanism. So I accepted with enthusiasm the proposal of Don Federico to join, and I will take care of developing in Romania this manifesto, maybe also in other countries, but let's start with Romania for the moment.
I introduced the topics of the ideas of Prince of Liechtenstein, Hans Adam II, but I wanna ask you, I wanna insist on this topic. In which ways do you believe that artificial intelligence is transforming human societies? Your Highness?
When you have a question like this, you have to think not at what is going to happen in the next 10 years, what is going to happen in the next 100 years. The risk, and I don't want to scare people, but if you don't govern this growth, this is something which can effectively happen, is the end of human society. It's a very evident risk because at the moment you have what is called cognitive surrender. So the human being starts to delegate decisions to artificial intelligence. So there is a sort of cage which is now starting to be built around the human being, and the human being from observer becomes observed by the cage of artificial intelligence.
And it's a golden cage.
It is a very practical and productive cage. And this is going to be another problem because artificial intelligence is going to accelerate productivity to the limit that efficiency will not be anymore considered a value. So work is not going to be considered a value. Human beings who at the moment have been identified by their ability to work in the society and have effects in the society is not going to be a value anymore. So his identity is at great risk. And you can see already, this was already imagined by the American Constitution in the 18th century, where for the first time there was the right to happiness. The human being had the idea that overall, at the end, the society would have come to a sort of liberation, freedom from scarcity. Okay, this is coming, but this is a big danger because if you don't put this under a governance, this risks to create an implosion of the human society because each human being will not have anymore a role. And so one of the things that we have to do is to, and it is our duty, is to reproduce the truth of data, which are a representation of the new world, which is not going to be only the human intelligence, but also the artificial intelligence, and in a not very far future, the intelligence of the earth. The three intelligence together will create a new era called the Neurocene, which is not anymore Anthropocene. At the moment, you are considering the man, the human being at the center of the stage. Is not going to be anymore like that. So the new stage is taken by the human being, the artificial intelligence, and the natural intelligence, because we will be able to understand it and to use it for the purpose of having a better life and a better richness in our lives in the future.
Mr. Patanè, what are your thoughts about this topic?
I fully agree on what Don Federico said, but I think we should also understand which will be the role of the education. Are the schools going to exist in the future in a world where you have answers on everything? And which will be the role of the schools in the future? I'm saying this because I'm talking with the kids. Some of them said, well, we don't need to study anymore. Look, I have this chat tool. But
which is the cognitive surrender I was talking about.
And then how can we give values to them? And this mixing this with the social platform, it's really, really dangerous. But we really see that the governance of that aspect it's really critical for our happiness, to say, and our life. And so it's a very, very important subject. And so the European Digital Humanism Manifesto will work on this. And we will also propose to Europe a regulation, a law on this. So the debate will be very wide, and we will welcome all contributions from everyone that could propose something constructive, because as Don Federico said, in 100 years things could really lead in a consequence that now are unimaginable. I think maybe in 50 years, maybe even earlier. So this is something where intellectuals, brains should really think, create a opinion movement, and also helping the legislators, helping the governments to regulate and provide a platform for the future. I would say that in addition to the government and the legislator, there are the religious leaders. Okay, so they have a role important. If you see on X the last messages on the matter from Pope Leo, he says this on artificial intelligence. And so all the religious heads, starting from the Pope, should consider how to provide guidance on that matter.
Yeah, just to avoid any, let's say, misinterpretation, European Digital Humanism is a very practical project. The objective is one, to create a EU Act for human rights and artificial intelligence rights. At the moment, there are 17 regulations and acts for digital management, and they are all defensive regulations, meaning don't do this, don't do that, because otherwise you create this danger. There is nothing from the bottom creating the new human rights and the new digital rights, artificial intelligence
The
rights.
voice of civil society.
Yeah, exactly. We have to start from there, and it is also a very technical project where we use the antibodies that the technology has created using blockchain technologies, DLT, Web3, zero knowledge proof, and other technologies. We call it digital mosaic, to make that data and digital have the strength of truth that cannot be revoked, cannot be changed. And from this basement, you can create a new governance. And if the artificial intelligence is not anymore a black box, but can be looked into, then you have the human values and the human being at the center again. So we need to elevate the human being in control. And to have it in control, you have to make sure that you can manage the data in a I would say apolitical way, in a way that nobody can change. So it's very practical project. It's not fantasy and it is based on European values, which were born in Greece, and then they were distributed with the Roman law, civil law, and then all over they reached the humanism, in particular in Florence, where there was a growth of the idea of the human being. And in Florence, Coluccio Salutati, who is an important person nobody knows, started to put the human rights in the society. And then from there on, we have in Germany, after the Second World War, we started to have ordoliberalism, which means that the human society has to be governed, and this has led to using the society to govern also welfare, to govern the community, and not only the single identity individual, which is making all this a sort of cultural clash between Europe and US and the eastern part of the world. As Europe, we need to drive the world as we have driven it in the past.
Okay.
As Don Federico said, it's not just a matter of principle, but pragmatic solutions that includes technology. So, for instance, technologies like blockchain or others are the base for building on top of this.
Very proficient tools.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we need to create the base of technology that empower the tools, and then we should build the European Act based on these tools.
Yeah.
So to have a certainty of something, you need to have the possibility to be sure that this is true. This is certainty. So in other words, we are talking of data. So who makes sure that that data, that information is true, is real, is not? That's the basic, the fundamental base. On top of this, then we can develop the principle, and out of the principle promote a European Act on digital humanism that will not be this time defensive.
Yeah,
You know,
it is very important because we are living in a period of time where we are fighting against fake news, deep fake, and so on, manipulation, cyber wars, because we do have these wars in Ukraine, in Iran, and other parts of the world. Yep.
This is the byproduct which is coming now after artificial intelligence, which is just an accelerator of digital data, is used in the wrong way, because you can manipulate it. Otherwise, if AI can be traced back and it's not anymore a black box, then this makes the difference. And this needs to be governed by law.
We were talking about European values, religious approaches, regulations, I believe that is necessary to go deeper into these topics and to talk about an ethical framework for artificial intelligence. What are your opinions, your ideas on this topic?
Everything is based on ethics. We live based on ethics. We are talking, and you are smiling to me, and I am talking to you with the pleasure of being together. And everything is based on our common ethics. So we are just reproducing, and we want to reproduce the human ethics also to the governance of the community, nothing else.
Mr. Patanè?
I fully agree. That is the basic principle. And so we are really confident that our message will go through and will be considered as a base for a new European act on that matter that will be constructive, not defensive. So it's not a protection, the new act, like we do. Now we talk about data protection of this. In this case, will be initiative, active, will be a vision, and then the vision supported by technology. So technology is important, and then the ethics is the same ethic, European ethics, I would say. We are used to.
Yeah. Nobody of us wants to live in US when you have this kind of quality where everybody is aggressive to each other. We Europeans, we also like the community. We like the sharing. We like that we are sharing the values. We like things which need to be protected. So we are sure that the people will like it. We're just protecting the society as it is. We want to continue the society, and we want to make it towards beauty, towards human being, towards wellness, towards just continuing the process that the human being has built during the last 10,000 years.
You mentioned Pope Leo. Pope Leo the 14th is the year, of course, the of the legacy of Pope Leo 13, who created more than 100 years ago a very pragmatic tool called the social doctrine of the church. Is based on 4 pillars: the dignity of human being, solidarity, subsidiarity, and common good. Now these values are coming back again on the table. Actually, Saint John Paul II, in his encyclical called Centesimus Annus, stated that these values are still in place, are very important values for the human society, for the future of the mankind. That's why I want to ask you, can Christian morality provide the foundation of this ethical system for artificial intelligence?
My book was published by a Christian publisher and a Catholic publisher. And of course, there must be a very clear direction. Human being is projected to beauty. And beauty is another way of absolute, of meaning absolute. And this can be also the next step to religion. So we are all aiming at the same target, let's say, of life and not of afterlife. So yes, of course, the basement is the amount of values that we have inherited by Christianism and which are spread all over the world and which are commonly accepted even by non-Christians.
Mr. Patanè?
I fully agree. I think that living together, even with differences, is an important value. Oh, by the way, we are in a city and in a region where there are Romanians, Hungarian, Germans,
Italians,
many
Jews,
nationalities,
Gypsies,
many nationalities, and we're different religious. We have Catholic, Greco-Catholic,
Armenian Catholic,
Armenian Catholics. We have Riformati. We have Lutherans,
Orthodox Church.
So, and all of this live together. Well, So I told to Don Federico, come with me, you will see in 200 meters Greco-Catholic Church, Hungarian Protestant Church, and
New
people,
Protestants,
new Protestants,
we do have here a mosque, a
okay,
synagogue, and so on.
a
Yeah.
synagogue
But-
also. And so I think this is an example of living together with differences that we should preserve also in general as value.
Of
may,
course.
may I complete? Because again, I insist always on the same fact. If you don't know the truth, you cannot imagine God. So before, you have to know what is certain. You have to be consistent on the human beings that you have in front of you. You have to be sure that the system works on regulated, and then you can imagine God, and you can think about God, and eventually let Him come inside you. But the truth and the common understanding of what the word is the next step to immanence.
We were talking about the future, the present. I wanna also end our discussion with the past, the history, the legacy, because Your Highness, you are a member of the family of the poet Gabriele D'Annunzio, Prince of Montenevoso. How important is this family, this historical heritage for you?
It is a pride, because novelty is always coming from acts and something which is not coming from nothing. In my case, it's coming from a poet who has changed the way Italy has started to use the Italian language, and has changed also with the Costituzione del Carnaro in Fiume, the way the Italian constitution was made. Starting to introduce the suffragio universale. I don't know how you say it.
Universal vote.
Universal vote also to the women, and also freedom of thought, etc., etc. So some of the principles of Italian constitution were inspired by my grandfather. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very happy to continue the history of my family.
Mr. Patanè, how important it is in a modern society to preserve these kind of traditions?
Is fundamental, because we come from the past and we should learn and we should keep the tradition, building on tradition, not just repeating, but we should build on traditions. And fundamental is like our DNA. Is the cultural dimension of the DNA are our traditions, and we should really be focused on keeping our tradition and building on our tradition, our history.
And tradition at the very end is just a build up on truth.
Thank you very, very much. I want to ask you to come again directly, physically, the best way, or through, I don't know, a Zoom platform or other electronical meanings to continue this discussion, because this topic cannot be expressed and debated in one TV show. But we have to have more episodes and to debate deeper and deeper these kind of ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you.
And you are invited to be part of European Digital Humanism project for Romania.
Thank you very, very much. Dragi prieteni, vă mulțumesc și vouă. Ne vedem pe net.